Well, you had to know we weren't done with Gor-Rok quite yet. The Great White Lizard is back for a free-for-all at the Warpstone crater, and though his enemies have great champions of their own, they're gonna need bigger armies, because he's coming for blood. The greatest source of an age and champion of Itza is probably my favorite addition in Mixed-Use Lord packs, just from a sheer intimidation standpoint. Literally like 3 times the size of Kraal or the other Old Bloods in the game. But to change things up a little bit more, we've got one of the most elite cavalry units in Total War Warhammer 2, the Horned Ones. Fantastic stat line, absolutely vicious, but at the end of the day, they have Rampage, which makes them a big waste of funds more often than not. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. But Gor-Rok isn't the only special lord in the desert today. Bohemond Beastslayer leads the chivalrous cavalry of Bastonne alongside the Green Knight and those scum of the earth peasants groveling at their feet, whose only purpose is to die horribly, and die they shall. He's carrying a big scary beast mace carved from the thigh bone of a dragon he wrecked personally, so he's got a bonus first large, and he hits like a truck. Moving along, forces of Marienburg call Edward van der Kraal their captain, a pirate and a smuggler who leads a gang of cutthroats from that famous port city. Although his stats themselves aren't very impressive, he can buff his men substantially with his booming voice, making them immune to psych. He has a dirty fighting bonus, health regen once he drops below 50%, and can pray to the Lord of the Seas to debuff enemies. And shifting over, the final army, the Dark Elves. You have seen this combination before. Karan Darkan, captain of the Black Guard, this time kitted out with hand weapons for bonus versus infantry, rather than his famous halberd Crimson Death. Interesting choice when fighting lizardmen in Bretonnia. And Tullaris Dreadbringer, captain of the Executioners of Ganeth. So those are the lords on the field. Should be a good time. It's a free-for-all. It's an eclectic mix, honestly. Lots of fun lords to choose from, and it's going to make for a very entertaining battle. As most free-for-alls are, honestly. Just an amazing game mode. Absolutely love it. Super glad they decided to add it for Warhammer 2, and looking forward to seeing it more as we move forward in this trilogy and hopefully in some of the other games as well. Got some great swords in the blue and gold of Marienburg moving up, trying to position themselves to support, while Knights of the Blazing Sun move out to the flanks and possibly look for an engagement already. We can sense quite a cavalry battle brewing as the Bretonnians lead a Ride of the Rohirrim style charge, like a tidal wave, straight forward, and they don't care whatsoever. They're just going right for it. Bunch of honey badgers don't give a crap, sending dudes flying. They just hit unbraced halberds further up on the cliff there, and that was insane. Really crazy engagement already opening up here. All the cavalry committed to the fight. Overcast Earthblood going in there as well. It'll be a very nice, very effective heal on a lot of expensive tier cavalry, but Piercing Bolt of Burning opening up now as a portal from the warp opens up and rains down some fire from above. And Gojira jumping out to an early lead. Shouldn't have too much trouble winning that cav fight, but we got a Dwellers Below coming in. Rending claws erupt from the earth. Gnawing, biting, breaking, hacking, and burning. Tons of points incoming there. And a storm of magic in these early stages. Marienburg and Bastonne trading magical blows. That was a super nice Dwellers. Hit 3 great swords right there. They were all blobbed up. And there is a holy mother of blob over here. Grail Knights, Knights of the Blazing Sun, Peasants, Men-at-Arms, bunch of Halberdiers, and a few great swords as well, all thrown in for good measure. And that'll be really nice if someone can get a good Vortex on top of that. But meanwhile, another Vortex, Flamestorm, incinerating some Knights. Well, I'm going to punish that blob hard with the Lore of Heavens, Chain Lightning in the middle of everything. And it cares not whose blood flows, only that it does. And that is just going to be gorgeous, man. Just absolutely gorgeous. What dreams are made of right there. Look at that blood fountain. There was a 4,000 points off a single cast from Chain Lightning. And let's put it in slow motion here because I want to check on my skink. Yeah, 200 kills. 200 kills with that Vortex. Incredible. Super fun. That's why you don't want to blob out when people bring Vortexes to free-for-alls. And that would never ever happen in a regular land battle, in a regular 1v1, because you can't blob up that much. So it's incredible when you get free-for-alls where people don't necessarily see that kind of stuff coming. On these kind of maps where you can get blobbed up a little bit more, Vortexes have a lot more use in that kind of situation. It's awesome because they're a much more visually appealing kind of spell. Carnosaur got a great charge there as the Cold One Chariots pull through those poor Marienburg handgunners. And yeah, the forces of Marienburg right now, they're having a very, very bad time as all 3 armies descend on them to feast on their points, murder their people, and move up further on that leaderboard. But Edward van der Kraal is still in the thick of the fighting, and he won't go down very easy. He is on foot, so it'll be pretty hard to bring him down because he'll kind of get knocked around, and he has that regen as well. But the terror is kicking in, and all the peasants are routing. Peasants aren't really what matters for Bretonnia, though. I mean, he's brought a lot of men-at-arms, or a decent amount of men-at-arms, but they're really not the killing power of his army. They were designed to rout Bohemond Beastslayer, the Green Knight, and his Grail Knights are really what matters. So if he keeps those alive, he might be fine. But early on, Dark Elves and Lizardmen absolutely in a much better position because we came in from the rear of Marienburg and the rear of Bastonne and got some of the points that way, got those sick vortexes off. But now everything's getting committed into melee here as the Skinks move up, and the Skink Priest gets some shots in with the blowpipes up top. That's going to be another Chain Lightning on a big blob of Dark Elves this time. And Warpstone Crater, it can punish you if you don't position properly. The ridges themselves kind of force you into these weird situations where you would normally not want to get blobbed up like that, but it's a lot easier to do it when you've got this kind of terrain on the field. And that was a big vortex, but a really nice Doom Bolt that came down as well that punished some of those Skinks. So Lizardmen and Dark Elves moving up now, and Gor-Rok, the Great White Lizard, charging headlong into the thick of a bunch of Bleak Swords, and he is gonna send them flying about 40 feet. This is why I love Gor-Rok. He's just on foot, no mount choices, and that's the way it should be. You put him on the ground, he does his tail thwaps, he gets his Mace of Ulamak, and he just carves a path, towers over those little Dark Elves, and he'll smash them. He will absolutely make them a red ruin with that big old mace, and it'll be fun to watch him fight. But meanwhile, Horde 1's moving up, trying to close down those Cold One chariots, but I see an opportunity to go for the Shades and the Dark Shards. They're taking a lot of AP fire on the way in, though, which is not what they want, because they will Rampage. But honestly, a Rampage right here wouldn't be the worst thing ever, because they're in Dark Shards. I mean, that's kind of the unit that you want to be killing anyway, so Rampage wouldn't be the biggest deal right here. They are at half health. That Rampage might trigger pretty soon as some of those Dread Spears get in from behind. Nice charge from the Cold One Chariots, and some of the Dark Elf hero characters, the caster, moving up as well. Kraal, Darkhand, and Tullaris Dreadbringer, we'll check on them pretty soon here as they fight a bunch of Saurus. Mysaurus Scarvet on top of a Carnosaur, sending some of those Shades flying literally 150 feet down the cliff, and they're going to get up somehow. But he is feasting on those Dark Elf range units in the back, but needs to be careful because of all that AP damage they could imbue if they get some good shots in. Nice charge from the Horde Ones into the Dark Shards again. Have not rampaged, I don't think. They're doing a lot of killing right now, but we got Kraal Darkhand with his dual hand weapons, and we got Tullaris Dreadbringer with his Drake. And a Blade Wind going off in the background as he carves a path, decapitating a bunch of my Temple Guard. Some more Saurus. It's only those two heroes fighting right now, and they have a lot of dead bodies at their feet. They're kicking some serious ass right now. That's fun to watch. And the Great Swords for Marienburg are somehow still around. Just a group of well-trained men with floppy hats in a world of ginormous Triceratops, flesh-eating dinosaurs, and ghosts of the Round Table. They are kites dancing in a hurricane, which makes what they do all the more impressive. But they're having a very bad time, and it's bedlam. It's madness. It is absolute madness everywhere on the field right now. There's so many different little mini engagements going on. There's no battle lines anywhere. Just monster here, a monster there, a unit here, trying to make their last stand as some Knights of the Realm plow through a bunch of Witch Elves. Sounds like a good time, eh? They're gonna probably go down. I don't imagine they're gonna be around for too much longer charging Witch Elves, because those were relatively full HP. And we got some Shades with Great Swords fighting some of that Carnosaur action right now. And Scarvet doing what he can. And those are Great Swords, though. I mean, yeah, a Carnosaur can kill him, but they dish out some serious DPS on their own as well. And Horde 1's getting committed to the Cav fight here. And they should be able to kill those Knights of the Realm, no problem. But the Green Knight and Bohemond Beastslayer are a problem, as is that Lore of Life spellcaster, who should be able to support them very nicely. Any heals on the Green Knight just go so far for you, because he has that passive physical resistance, which is just a really big deal. I mean, it makes it so much harder to actually kill him, chunk him down if he gets heals. Each one of those heals will go for so far for any ethereal unit. But Stegodon coming in from behind, getting a good charge into the Cold One Chariot. How does that thing even move, man? It has one wheel. That shouldn't even work. But it's rolled through a bunch of the Saurus, and there are just piles of dead on the ground as the Basilodon with the Revivification Crystal comes in to support, trying to heal up the Scarvet and some of the more important targets on the field. You get that Cold-Blooded, you get the heals from the Revivification Crystal, and the Lizardmen healing can get pretty obnoxious to fight against. but it is quite the boon in a free-for-all or a 1v1 battle for sure. Edward van der Kraal, the pirate man, charging forward, doesn't care. He's gonna get into the back of the Saurus and start laying about with his blade. Stab that Stegodon in the ass with his sword, but the Carnosaur didn't like that. He'll come over and looks like he'll terror rout him. And the caster for the Dark Elves has routed here. Bleak Swords fighting some of the Great Swords, and Great Swords will be able to win that for sure. They're two-handed bonus versus infantry, armor-piercing attacks. They'll decapitate them, but Witch Elves, meanwhile, with their very fast movement speed and their twin blades, they are champions of running down enemy infantry, and they will bisect them as they come in from behind. Get some nice chops in from behind and just chop them up. And yeah, those Great Swords will go down, and they're so close to the white line there. It really should be a red line. It's been a red line in every other game. Let's just call it a red line. Yeah, they should, those Great Swords will probably not be returning to the fight. But meanwhile, Lizardmen and Dark Elves having their fight now. Some Saurus moving up along the top of the ridge. Shades getting some very good shots in and using their kiting potential to retreat and get some space before they can turn around and fire. And again, Witch Elves getting committed. Very nice. Layering the defense here. Layering the wave. Sending in stuff that's a little bit weakened just so it can buy some time for the Shades and for the Dark Shards to get more shots in. Witch Elves won't be long for this world, but it might buy enough time for a couple more volleys. And those Saurus are looking pretty worse for the wear right now, too. Temple Guard moving up, while Gor-Rok and Edward van der Kraal and a bunch of Great Swords are fighting it out on this side. Now, Edward can't win this fight, but he can hold him down. A Scarvet roaring in from the flank with the Carnosaurs. Downhill charge into the Great Swords. And I cannot believe those Great Swords are still around. They are fighting some terrifying stuff, and they are still in the thick of it. Tullaris Dreadbringer just routed, but he might be able to come back as the Temple Guard move into the Dark Shards, do get their charge off, but so few of them are left. They were beaten up by all that armor-piercing range fire, and this big blob of Dark Shards and Shades in the back have really been quite a nuisance for a lot of the factions on the field right now, as the Bastiladon gets a nice charge into their midst. And the nice thing about that thing, only 1,000 gold, and it does cause terror. So obviously on top of the healing, you do get some utility, some tankiness, and some damage output, some mobility from those charges there. But yeah, those Dark Shards have done a lot of work this game as the Stegodon, Bohemond, and the Green Knight all fight. And that Carnosaur, even though he is designed to kill large targets and single entities, this is a very tough fight for him. He does not have magical attacks. Nothing on the field does, actually. I don't think anything on the field is very good at killing the Green Knight. And you can see Gojira is in second place right now. I'm in first, Dark Elves are in third, and Marienburg is completely off the field now. Edward van der Kraal did end up routing. But the Cold One Chariots moving into the side of those Saurus, getting a really nice charge. They've been utilized pretty effectively too. They're still around. Bastiladon, a little bit isolated right now. And with all the AP fire coming in, might not be too long for this world. But that duel with the Green Knight and Bohemond, who are both looking very nice right now, looking pretty good. They're getting a lot of points for Gojira, and that could play a factor the later we get into this game as the Bastiladon moves up, tries to close the gap with those Shades. That's a full volley of armor-piercing shots directly into its face, down to half health, and without support from the leadership of Gor-Rok or the Saurus Scarvet. Doesn't have great leadership, might go down, or at least rout, start rampaging a bit. So we'll see how that plays into it as the Lizardmen continue to fight over on the other side. They're coming back across that ridge now. Few Horned Ones left. Some Saurus did get into the Shades, trying their best to finish them off, and they should be able to. But if you're gonna pay 1,000 golds for a 1,000 gold for a range unit, Shades are a nice one. You get a lot of utility out of them. They can go toe-to-toe with a lot of infantry units in the game. They can dish out a lot of damage. But here we go. We got Khorne Darkhand, and we have Tullaris Dreadbringer. Ascending the slope right now. Both still alive. They have been routed a few times, but they're both still around. You can see some healing on the Saurus Scarvet in the background there. Stegodon coming in. That has to be the most terrifying thing ever, dude. Tullaris Dreadbringer sent flying. Just seeing that thing just come over the ridge. I don't even know how many tons that thing. It's got to be like 7, 8 tons at least. Way bigger than an African elephant, which I think is like 4 or 5 tons. Could be wrong about that. But yeah, probably approaching 10 tons of just pure, unadulterated anger and frustration and goring potential on those scary horns, the Triceratops. It's a big deal, no question about that. But we got Tullaris Dreadbringer and Khorne Darkhand You got a big duel here as Gor-Rok charges in. And the death squads are on top of each other now. But gooning Tullaris Dreadbringer, captain of the Executioners, or Karan Darkhan, captain of the Black Guard, not very easy, because they're both infantry, and especially on these cliffs. If you don't land a good attack, you can send them flying, and it'll take you a long time to close the gap, and you won't do any damage too. So that's the thing with infantry. You can knock them down, and sometimes that knockdown immunity is a boon rather than being a bad thing, because if they were mounted up on a cold one or something, rest assured that Scarvet would be eating them up for dinner right now. So they haven't taken a whole lot of damage. They're still somehow not dead, but that Carnosaur and Gor-Rok surrounded by infantry now. The Shades have been committed because they no longer have any ammunition, and that's where Gor-Rok thrives. In the thick of it, in the melee, in the grind, still at half health, and probably approaching 70 or 80 kills at this point. Scarvet did bust loose, and yeah, showering the desert red with the blood of the Shades as the Cold One Chariot moves up. Can't fight the Carnosaur, gonna have to go for the infantry, but there's not a lot of infantry left for the Lizardmen. Karan Darkhan's still around somehow, but he is wavering. Gor-Rok, Mace of Ulamak, just smashing these Shades apart. So much fun to watch. He's so satisfying. Everything about the Great White Lizard in this mod is so incredibly satisfying, and his model has been done complete justice too. It's not one of those ones that looks like a kit bash. It looks like something legit. So yeah, if you're gonna do Gor-Rok, the Great White Lizard, in Total Warhammer 2, which I really want them to do, make sure it's better than what Mixu was able to do in this mod. That's not gonna be too easy, because he looks great, and I want to see Gor-Rok be huge like he is too. I need to see him be massive, because that's what makes him, that's a big part of what makes him special. But Karan Darkhan, he's just out of here, dude. He's outie. Doesn't feel like being here anymore. And I mean, he isn't here anymore. He just got sent to Areth Kial, the Pale Queen, or to Slanesh, either one, because his soul has left his body and is now going into the warp. He's a dead boy. Green Knight and Bohemond have surrounded the Scarvet, and the Carnosaur goes down. Gojira being super sneaky with the Green Knight and with his Bastonne leader here. Legendary Lord's kicking some ass in that goon squad. Just the two of them going around being all chivalrous, and they have done a lot for the Bretonnians in this game. They are single-handedly keeping them in the fight, but Dark Elves are ahead of Bastonne for right now. Tullaris Dreadbringer has routed Gor-Rok, not letting him escape, and this should be the end for the captain of the Executioners as well. I think he has like 40 HP right now. Yeah, and he goes down. A point-blank volley from the Chameleon Skinks, and now he's dead and gone as well. Areth Kial should have another powerful soul in her keeping at this point. Green Knight, Bohemond killing the rest of the Saurus. What's left? A couple of Shades who are thinking about coming back, but pretty much this is going to be Gor-Rok versus the world. Versus Bohemond and versus the Green Knight. And he's going to struggle in that. He does have a bonus for Slurge, which is important. Bohemond does as well, though. And he has a really powerful single target ability that can lower melee defense and attack substantially, each above like 35 or 40. So you get that plopped on you in a duel, and the Beastslayer will punish you pretty hard. But right now he seems to be focusing on the Skink Priest, making sure that that doesn't come back to the fight. Green Knight getting an attack from behind. Shield of Eons pops. Heroic Killing Blow pops. Gor-Rok up to some seriously powerful weapon strength and melee attack values right now. But he has to carve through all that physical resistance, all of that annoying ethereal stuff. And now the Beastslayer coming back and will pop his single target ability. Look at those stats drop down. And yeah, all his stuff is worn off now. Gor-Rok can't win this fight. He just can't do it. Doesn't have the health. Can't kill Green Knight. Bohemond doesn't even need to come over to support. Green Knight should be able to finish him off. Saurus trying to do something here. Actually, no, those are routing Saurus. They're not even on the field. They're shattered, I think. But Green Knight and Great White Lizard fighting for the last duel here. And with one final strike, he will go down. My legendary Lord of Itza will go down. But Chameleon Skinks and Shades fighting it out. Very interesting engagement. I think normally Shades would be able to smash them in 1v1, but they both have so little HP at this point. I'm not sure it matters. Soul Killer coming in from behind, Terror Route, and that will be the game. Who wins? Who wins? Lizardmen win. Yeah, Lizardmen are going to take this one barely, not by much. I was very impressed, actually. Gojira lost a lot of his stuff, but he kept the most important things on the field still around. And Green Knight, Soul Killer, and Bohemond Beastslayer ended up getting so many more points when it looked like Bretonnia really wasn't going to make a big impact on that game early on. After dealing with Marienburg, they just got rear charged by the Lizards. And honestly, Lizardmen are just terrifying in free-for-alls. They're bred and born for this kind of situation. They've got everything you'd ever want. The healing is so incredibly useful as you get into later stages. You kind of hold on to your cold-blooded, wait to pop that on some really important targets like your Lord, like your big dinos. I tried to keep it so I didn't have very many dinos on the field, but I ended up still bringing the Scarvet and my Skink Priest. I mean, 365 kills. Incredible. Those chain lightnings were just vicious, eviscerated huge chunks of everybody's army. Gor-Rok got 90 kills. Horde One's 176. Again, not a unit you see very often in multiplayer because of that rampage, but they ended up getting used pretty well that battle. And then you look at the Dark Elves, Kran, Darkhand, and Tullaris Dreadbringer. They just kind of soaked up a ton of damage and a ton of time. Shades used very well. Cold Wind Chariots were used very well also. But yeah, Gojira and the Bastonne, Bohemond Beastslayer did very well. Marienburg had a rough go of it for sure. They weren't going to win that cav fight. Great swords are decent infantry for sure, but they have a hard time matching up with stuff that cause terror. And when you get surrounded by 3 sides and basically 3 armies just come from all sides to pick at your corpse, you're going to have a bad time. That's what happened there. So, absolutely crazy free-for-all. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I loved it. I'll see you next time. Any Pride, signing out for now.